All right. So super excited to be on with everyone today. Nice and raw and real, like right in my office this morning. But super excited to be able to share with you guys. So today you are stuck with just me for our lifestyle class, and I'm super excited to be able to really give some content around this. And this is something that's just so dear to my heart in terms of just energy. People have asked me for years, they're like, how do you have the energy to like keep going and do all these things? And I remember years ago when people would ask me that, I'd kind of get annoyed. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I'm excited like about doing this, or like, obviously exercise, food, things. And there was a time in my life where I didn't have that, where I was feeling like really burned out. And I think that's where I really discovered, like, what did I need to do to be able to keep my tank on full, right? Versus at times I felt like I was operating on reserves. So what I'm going to, share with you guys today are just things I started learning, just looking into, because all of a sudden I saw like, oh my gosh, wait a second, there's so many other ways to like impact energy. And then as I started researching it, I was blown away at how like everything just lined up together. So I'm going to share this real quick. Anyone watching, if you guys can share, tag a friend, anyone that, could use a little extra energy in their life, throw it in there, And so whether you found yourself before feeling like just really tired, or worn out, or feeling, drained in some capacity, or maybe you felt really great, but then something happened and you were just like, oh my gosh, I'm just so tired. Like it, or that just like maybe a certain specific group of people or certain tasks are very draining for you, whatever it might be. So that's something that I'm really excited to be able to share with you all, a little bit of kind of my journey, and some tips and keys to really help you maximize your energy. So this is really where this is optimal energy, excuse me, is where Elevated came from. So people ask me all the time about Elevated Fitness and Nutrition. I am the co-founder of that company, and when we formed Elevated Fitness and Nutrition, we formed it because we wanted people to be educated and have awareness around how to actually maximize their energy, and just knowing how I saw people all the time, and people like teens, not even adults. Like I met teens who were like, I'm just like so tired, and they were just always so pooped. And I looked at, what were they eating, what were their rituals, what did those look like? And looking at that, I was like, well, no wonder you're feeling kind of crappy, there's a reason for that. So when it comes to energy, I think a lot of people think about the one main form of energy as the main source, which is physical energy, right? So for me, what I found was there were times where I was really tired. Like I hadn't slept much, right? So I was actually like physically tired, but I was super energetic. And I'm sure you guys have experienced that at some point, whether you have kids or you remember as a kid, staying up all night or waiting for Santa Claus, or maybe you were going on a trip to Disney World, or there was something exciting coming up, maybe in your teens. I don't know, it was like a date or prom or something, but something that got you so excited and like got you up out of bed in the morning with tons of energy, because there was something happening that day. And that goes into emotional energy, which we're going to talk about. But before I knew like this terminology or had studied any of it, what I knew was there were times that I didn't sleep much, but yet I was very, very energetic. And then there were times where I slept a ton and I was really drained. And I'm like, I don't understand. I don't get it. So I started researching this stuff. So probably about 12 years ago, I remember I was turning 25. And it was, yeah, about 12 years ago. And I was having a quarter of a century crisis. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling so dead. Like I'm exhausted. I don't know what's going on. And I really started freaking out. And I talked to a friend of mine and she shared with me, she said, well, Kath, what does your normal routine look like? What do you eat? How do you sleep? And just basics. And a lot of it was around the physical. And so that's where everything started for me, was physical energy. And so physical has to do with like the rest your body gets, the water intake, the nutrition. Like, are you actually feeding your body? good things, or are you just putting whatever in there? And I remember hearing someone say, like, treat your body, think of it as like a award-winning, racehorse, or whatever you want it to be. But if you had this, you were showcasing any other being, how would you treat it? How would you take care of it? What would you feed it? Would you feed it McDonald's? Or like, heck no, And so really being cautious of that and conscious of that. And I remember someone saying that years ago, and I was like, well, no, like you need to put more nutrition, into your diet. And so step one for me was fixing my physical energy, because my physical energy was pretty warped. And I was like, all right, I need to get into routines, so what are things that impact your physical energy? And by the way, all of this is important when you think about, you want to create a life that you love. You want to go out there and do something spectacular. I meet so many people who are so driven and are like, I want to do this, I want to impact this, I want to do this with my kids, I want to travel the world. And they have like vision for different areas of their life, but they're like, I'm just so tired. And I think about, for each and every one of us, it's our responsibility to create an environment where we know we can grow, and an environment that really fosters that. So what does that look like? And we have to also know what are the routines that fuel us, because there are going to be times we have to refuel ourselves, right? So there's two parts. One, knowing what it is that we need in our in our environment to maximize all sources of our energy, and then knowing how to refuel that thing, and how often to make sure that we're staying operating on full, not on reserves on your tank, right? So first I started off with physical energy. All right. So this is first of the four, physical energy. So I said, okay, what do I need to do here? So look at your food. How can you get more nutrition? So for me, it started actually with juicing years ago, in 2005. And that was 14 years ago is when this journey started. And it started with, okay, what can I do to get more nutrients? I didn't like salads. I never ate salads growing up. It just wasn't my thing. Okay. But I needed more greens, and I heard I needed greens in my body. And I was like, all right, well then how can we do this? What can we make happen here? So I started with doing juices and having pineapple or apple in it to make it sweet. So carrot, beets, apples, those are all good ways, or pineapple, pears, to make a juice sweeter so that I enjoyed it more. Nowadays, it's like I'm eating grass and I'm very happy with that. And your taste buds do transition, they do adjust. And people are like, I can never do that. I'm like, you say that now, but they adjust. Even my husband was like super anti-juicing, and now he like craves juices. And he can even drink them like I drink them, where before he was like, oh, that's disgusting, like 2 years ago. It's been fun to see him transition from, okay, juices with fruits in it, to less fruit, to all greens, to like, plain old, green juice with nothing except like grass flavor you can do. And you might be like, oh my God. But you get there and it's like your body craves it. And it's like, oh my gosh, it feels so good, when it's getting those nutrients. But that's where I started. For some people, it might be eating salads. That was a next transition for me. That wasn't my first thing. So it was easier for me to drink juices that tasted good, that were also giving me nutrients. And then it was shakes and smoothies, right? So I used to go a lot to like a Jamba Juice or Smoothie King. Like I had like my little card at Smoothie King when I was in college and post college. And what I didn't know at that time were like just how much sugar and how many fillers and how much artificial things were in some of those, and some of the things I was ordering. And it was like, okay, how can I make this at home where it's better for me? And knowing exactly what was going into that container, and using whole foods, and putting cacao for chocolate, and putting a whole banana, and putting some almond butter that I ground up or order some raw, without all the additives and everything in it. And then putting some protein powder, which I went through different phases of like clean whey protein to then switching to plant-based over 10 years ago. And so really focusing on putting more plants into my diet. So I do that. And so even in my smoothies, I threw spinach, a handful of spinach, and any peanut butter chocolate shake, you can throw a handful of spinach. You don't even taste the spinach, but you're getting raw spinach, which again has a lot of nutrients for your body. So these were just like little things where I was like, all right, well, how can I replace things that I love? I love spaghetti, or I want to have like meatball and spaghetti. And so I started making my own turkey meatballs that had chopped up like peppers and onions in them and were seasoned super yummy with turkey meat. And I made my own meatballs. Again, I knew what kind of grade meat I was using. I knew what grade, and then that transitioned to black bean burgers and making my own black bean burgers. And that's like, I love a great black bean burger over anything these days, with some avocado, maybe a fried egg on top. And that's something that I still, I eat eggs. Eat mostly plant-based, and I do like eggs. I prefer them from a farm, one of my friends' farms, where I know like all the animals are being treated beautifully, and it's just what goes into them and what they get fed, and like all of that to me is very important. But again, those are things I learned later. So even right now, what can be the small wins? Can you make the better choice? Like when you're having lunch, like what's a better option? But for me, it had to be tasty. Like I like flavor. There's some people that can just eat for functionality, which is amazing. And then there's people like me who like just really need flavors. So I was like, all right, well, let me put more flavor into my food. What is it that I love to eat? So I love spaghetti. I was like, all right, what's a better version of spaghetti? So I started doing, veggies, spiralized veggies years ago before it became a thing. Now you can buy zoodles at the store, right? And then also like using rice noodles or spinach noodles. Like there's different noodles. Now I love kelp noodles, which are, raw. You can cook them or not, but you can throw them in a sauce and it'll soak up the sauce and get super soft. And that's super yummy. And so I've used that also as a replacement, for spaghetti. So just like finding ways. So I love smoothies. I love ice cream. So making milkshakes, making smoothies, those were things. But are you getting the right amount of rest? There's so many arguments around that, from 4 hours a night to 8 to 10 hours a night. You really have to play with it and see how your body functions, because I know a lot of high performing people and we're all very different, from like, I need 6 hours, I need 7 hours, I need 5 hours, I need 10 hours. And even for me at different seasons, different parts of my life, I've needed different amounts. So that's something you want to play with and just see how your body feels. And you've got to remove the psychological of I need 8 hours. You really don't. Some people, they might. And again, at different times of your life, and if your body's fighting more or doing more, it might need more for sure. And when you're a little under the weather, your body needs more time to rest so that it can actually like fix itself, right? Like our bodies are made to be able to do that. So that's something that you want to pay attention to. Water intake is huge. So making sure like, I have a water bottle that holds, 24 ounces. And I know every day I need to have at least 4 of those. So having, have a water bottle that you can drink out of easily, or a glass bottle. It's healthier for you. Those are all, again, even right now, if you can just get drinking water and doing that. So get proper rest, drink water, put more nutrients into your body, replace things that you can that'll just give you more nutrients. Where can you sneak veggies and you don't taste them? I have a lot of recipes that I can trick the heck out of you in all different realms, whether it's Mexican food, Italian food, island food, whatever. I can make you some dang good jerk mushrooms that you'll eat just like jerk chicken and be super happy. But I just started finding like I wanted to make healthy tasty, because for me, part of me not eating well is like it just didn't taste good. But there are ways to make amazing foods. There's actually a killer cookbook called like Wicked Cookbook, I think it's called. I have to look it up. I'll put the link on here. But it's actually a plant-based cookbook, and it is fire. Like it is so good. Everything in that thing is so freaking good. But there are so many options now for that. All right. So I spent a lot of time on that. And that's because our physical energy, that is the foundation. Like our bodies, our physical bodies, we do have to take care of them. But what I know is that you can beat your bodies up for a while. You can not sleep for some nights as you're working on projects or doing some exciting things or sometimes not exciting things, and still be able to pull some killer energy from other sources. All right. And so I mentioned there's 4 sources. So one being physical energy, but then guys, we have emotional energy, which I mentioned before. And that's the energy that deals around like joy and fulfillment, like happiness, like what actually like brings you to life, what puts a smile on your face. Those things are huge. Relational dynamics can really affect emotional energy. So whether it's relationships with people like lovers, or with family, with friends, with coworkers, like just your relationships, like as humans, like that's a part of us that we were wired to be connected. And when that's lacking, that can definitely affect our emotional energy. So are there things that are bringing you down? Is there depression that you've had for a while? Like, are there things that need to be dealt with? These things will really help you maximize that level of energy. And so for me, I love being able to have someone to talk to that I really enjoy. If you guys want a kick-ass energy mentor, life coach, business coach, psychologist. I've got all of them. I'm a great business coach, by the way. But all these things that, people that can just really pour into you. And it has a bad stigma, like therapists, psychologists. Like from when I grew up, it was like, oh, crazy people go to that. Or you went and they didn't really do a whole ton. But I have been blessed to be connected and know some really incredible people. So if you're curious about that, put a comment, for any recommendations. They know their stuff. They're not cheap, but you're worth investing into, and it can create so much in your life and so much happiness in your life. The third type of energy has to do, I call it mental energy, but this is really the energy of productivity. And so your mind can only make a certain amount of decisions in a day. Like, what are you doing? And by the way, in my book, In Life as a Masterpiece, there's actually a whole section when you guys go to the creating the right conditions to grow. So it's the third section of the book. It's called Your Success. All right. And in this section of the book, there's the first chapter is creating the right conditions for growth. And so just really looking at your environment internally and externally and what needs to happen. And then I hit on, I talk about getting the energy right, physical energy, again, impacted by good nutrition, adequate exercise, adequate sleep. Oh, and with exercise, do something fun. If you have I used to have a lot, I'd get so angry and stuff at work and I just had all this built up rage. One, holding that in creates toxins, creates sickness. That's not healthy for you. But something that's a 2-for-1, all right, was for me going boxing. And I went to kickboxing classes. I got to hit stuff. I was so happy. And so it just got me in shape, and it released all that in a really positive way. Some people love Zumba, go dance, have fun. So that's really cool, but that's the foundation. With emotional, put here, it has overall direction of your feelings as well as your mood, your relationships, your approach to managing conflict and negativity. So if you have low emotional energy, that's where you can have more depression, hopelessness, makes you just want to stay in bed all morning or whatever, not do anything. When you have strong emotional energy, you have a more optimistic look on things, and there's more of an eagerness to go out there and do great things. Mental energy, I put here, it's a lot less about IQ. It's more about focus, insight, clarity. So you can be the smartest person in the world, but if you're all over the place and you're you're not going to be as productive, and your mental energy will definitely reduce. So the most productive people I know have really great mental energy. They have lists of things. They have action steps. They something called where you bulk things up, all right, or people call it chunking, and you chunk exercises, and so your mind knows what it needs to do. It makes it produce at a much higher level. And then spiritual energy, and the next chapter of the book actually I think it keeps going through here. It dives in physical energy and things that you can do with exercise, things that you can do with nutrition, things that you can do to detoxify your body. It goes through in depth for 6 to 8 pages here. Then emotional energy, and it talks about self-talk and the quality of relationships and things you can do to impact that. With your mental energy, I have things here as taking time to plan, doing the most important things earlier in the day. So you give yourself, knock those things out while your mental energy is at its highest. Okay. If you're constantly checking, you can get drained. And this happens to me where I'm checking all my different emails, checking this, checking that. That's going to take emotional energy or mental energy that you might need for a certain task at hand. Look at it in an hour, just block it off, turn it off, do what you need to do so you can be the most productive. And then spend 30 minutes checking, all your messages and responding to people. So that's a big thing. I mentioned chunking, and I talk about that in here. And making sure you constantly are feeding your mind, because that, that helps you keep growing and connecting. And then with spiritual energy, that's more of a connection to higher power. And so whether that source, for you is from the earth, and it's putting your feet on the earth and just feeling the energy that comes through that. It's connecting with your creator. I know that's a big part for me of where I really feel source come through is like, just like that energy that flows, that wisdom, that strength, that power that comes spiritually from my creator, so again, whether it's your creator, it's Mother Earth, it's a combination, just connecting with yourself, pausing. And I love like yoga and meditation because it helps you physically. Like deep breathing is huge for moving toxins. I mean, there's so many benefits to, we can have a whole conversation on like breath work and like what breathing does for you. And there's all these different styles and you can look up, but the fact is you want oxygen flowing. Deep breaths, taking those deep breaths, holding them and pushing them all out helps move your lymphatic system, which if it just like stayed and didn't move for a day, you die of poison, so you've got to remove those. And we remove those, through sweating. We remove that going to the bathroom. We remove that from moving around. We remove that with deep breath. Swimming and like trampolines are two of the best things to help you that move the most muscles, move the most toxins around your body. And anyone at any age can get in a pool, even if it's with help, to just like move a little bit, and it has the least amount of stress on your body. So just finding something that works for you. But when you have your physical energy, when you know what are things that are going to fuel your emotional energy and keep that at a high. For me, a date night is definitely part of that. And whether it's a date night with yourself and doing some cool projects, maybe it's those do-it-yourself projects. Super excited. My executive assistant, she's like, we're going to incorporate that for stress relief. I'm like, heck yeah, that would be so fun. I've always wanted to do that and I never take time to do it. So whether it's do-it-yourself projects, a date night, going out and like painting like the color, I don't know what it's called, paint by whatever, and you can bring a bottle of wine. I just went to one for the first time. It was so fun, so fun. So exploring like different sides of you, like I'm an accounting brain. And so going out and painting is using a different part of my brain, and it helps you expand your mind, and your capacity there. So that's really freaking cool. But I'd love for you guys to share, and anyone who's been listening, and thank you, Dave. Thank you, Chip. I'd love for you guys to comment below. What are some of your practices? So if you can comment any of your practices that help you refuel your energy, and what parts of it, so for me, working out impacts, that work impacts your mental energy. It impacts my emotional energy as well. I'm just like a lot happier, and physically, obviously, it's impacting my energy. So 3 of my energies get impacted through working out. When I specifically do yoga, it actually hits all 4 because I do a lot of like meditation and prayer in my yoga as well. So yoga actually hits all 4 of my energies. So that's a great thing for me to do consistently because it's helping fuel all the areas. So you have to see for you. And again, whether you do some of your own research online. In my book, I go into more depth with this. You can put questions on here, like below. Please comment any questions that you have. But really think about, how do you feel your physical energy, or what are ways that you can feel better? What are ways to feel your emotional energy and create more joy and happiness in your life? What are ways to impact your mental energy? And do you need to get better organized? Do you need to have better structure? Do you need to declutter? That is a big help for a lot of people. Do you need to chunk certain things so your brain knows on focusing on that smaller task versus being overwhelmed with the bigger, and maybe an hour going by and not taking any action? Like, what is it? How are you going to impact your spiritual energy? Is it taking time for meditation? There's so many great apps, and I'll share these, but I'd love for you to comment below things you're already doing, or things that, help you guys. All right. So this right here, if you guys, and I'll show you guys, this is the last thing I'll share. And I'd love, again, for you guys to share any resources that you have. But on my health, I have my gym, Lifetime. We got Orange Theory. I'm 7. This app is awesome. And like this week I was on vacation. Thank you, Hal Elrod, who introduced me to this. But there's already a full body that's on here, and it's 7 minutes. And every 30 seconds it changes and it guides you and it tells you like when to move to the next one. So we're starting here with jumping jacks. And so it has it for 30 seconds and it whistles at you and it goes. This is a lifesaver. You might do 1 7-minute. I found most of the time I do 2 or 3, even when I'm in a rush. I can usually get 2 in, right? Which is like 15 minutes of workout. But even just going through one of these for 7 minutes, this right here goes a long way. All right. So I want to make sure you guys have that resource. So that's a really great one. Then I also have besides the 7, there's commit to 3 and things that you're focused on. And you guys can check that out of like, there's affirmations. I have an app called Think Up. There's Headspace, Insight Timer. These are things to help with meditation, with focus, with affirmations, like lots of cool stuff on here. And then just like the 3 important things for the day, it's committing to 3. And I didn't say this, but Think Up has affirmations you can take from other people's affirmations. You can put music, you can put options, you can record yourself talking to you, and you can say it so you can listen to them maybe while you're driving. So there's options. So even people who are like, oh my gosh, I'm super busy, I don't have the time in the morning, like you can get something done, and you can get 7 minutes done in the morning, quick workout, and do it with your kids, those 7 minutes, and then get them ready to go for the day, or whatever. There's just, where there's a will, there's a way. And so are we prioritizing time for us? And the last thing I want to say with this actually is the refuel. You have to take time. For me, it's at least once a month. I need a day to myself, to just like to read a book, sit in the spa, do nothing, or plan if I want to. But I need a day that I know I'm off the grid to just refuel myself, recharge my brain, and be ready to focus. That's very important. Weekly, I need an hour once a week to just like, again, walk through my week, make sure I'm feeling good, everything's taken care of, like, because that planning my week takes a lot of stress off, because then I can just go and I can execute, and so knowing what you need. Some people need a conversation to check in with every day with like an accountability partner. Some people want that once a week. Some people want that every other week. Some people want it once a month. Like there's things you want to put in place to make sure you're getting done what you want to get done. All right. So again, excited to hear from you guys, ways that you're impacting your energy, and also any questions that you guys have on any of these, or how can I do this better? How can I incorporate this? We've got a great crew of people that can help support you and guide you on your journey. And we're excited about helping you elevate your energy so you can elevate your life, because it really is the fuel, of achievement. The fuel of everything is like our energy will control a lot of what happens in our life. So to decide, where do you want your energy to be? Are you okay operating on reserves, or are you ready to operate from a place of being full? What does it look like for you to be full in those areas? What would help create that? And then how do we stay there? And so those are things to think about as we're on our journey. Look forward to hearing from you.